Assalamualaikum my dear student. Once again welcome to my YouTube channel by the name MS Lectures. And today I will be demonstrating you the very important topic of the physiology, which is the short-term blood regulation. So in this particular topic we will be studying that what are those reflexes which are involved in you can say regulating the short-term blood regulation. So first of all we have the baroreceptor reflex. We have the baroreceptor reflex. So baroreceptor reflex. So baroreceptor receptors, these are the receptors which actually are activated whenever whenever there is a change in the blood pressure. So these are located in the aorta and the carotid artery. So the location is in the aorta and the area where the carotid artery bifurcates. So aorta and carotid artery. So whenever baroreceptor are present in this aorta and carotid artery, so whenever the blood pressure changes, so what happens that this aorta sends the vagus nerve to the middle of the brain, and then that brain through the vasomotor center controls that or brings that elevated blood pressure towards the normal. Then if we talk about this carotid artery, so the baroreceptor which are located in the carotid artery detect the pressure change. So whenever this detect the pressure change, it sends the glossopharyngeal nerve it actually sends the glossopharyngeal impulse towards the middle of the head, and which in turn you can say manages that or brings that elevated blood pressure towards the normal. So this reflex accounts for the increased or decreased blood pressure. So the function of this baroreceptor reflex is to maintain the normal blood pressure for the short term. And one you can say one problem of this baroreceptor reflex is that it only you can say works or governs for the short term blood regulation. For example, if one day the blood is 120, another day it is 130, then 140. So for one day or for a short period of time it would be bringing that blood pressure towards the normal. But if consecutively for 4 days, the blood pressure is 150, so this baroreceptor reflex would not work. It would you can say mark that blood pressure 150 constant. It would not change this 150 value, because this 150 blood pressure millimeter of mercury has been is present for the consecutively 4 days. So that's why this 150 would not change, because it has been remained consecutively 150 for 4 days. So after the baroreceptor reflex we have the chemoreceptor reflex. So in the chemoreceptor reflex, as the name suggests it, you can say you can regulate the chemicals. So if there is a condition in which there is the low oxygen and high CO2 and H2 hydrogen in the body, so what happens that this chemoreceptor reflex is activated, and this chemoreceptor reflex actually, what does it do? It actually increases the heart rate and the respiratory rate. So whenever there would be the increase in the heart rate and the respiratory rate, that oxygen level would come back towards the normal. So chemoreceptor reflex governs whenever there is the decreased oxygen concentration and increased carbon dioxide and the hydrogen concentration. So it would increase the heart rate in order to bring back this oxygen low oxygen level towards the normal. So it would increase heart rate. And thirdly we have the atrial and the pulmonary artery reflexes. Atrial and pulmonary artery reflexes. So in this artery and the pulmonary artery reflex, what happens that whenever there is the increased blood volume in the arteries, so arterial receptors get activated, and that actually these arterial receptors activate, and these arterial receptors bring back the increased blood volume towards the normal value. So whenever there is the increased blood volume in the atria or arteries, so arterial receptors get activated. Arterial receptors activate whenever there is the increased blood volume. So these arterial receptors activation would cause the increased blood volume towards the normal blood volume. Number 4, we have the ANP release. What is the ANP? So arterial, we have the ANP release that is associated with this atrial and the pulmonary artery reflex. So ANP means atrial natriuretic peptide. So whenever there is the increased blood volume in the arteries, so this ANP is released. So what does this ANP do? This ANP, you can say, stimulates the kidney to make more urine. So it stimulates the kidney to make more urine, which can decrease the blood volume. So this is the ANP release. Number 5th, we have the vein bridge reflex. Vein bridge reflex. So in the vein bridge reflex, what happens that again that is associated with this atrial and pulmonary artery reflex, and again now when this vein bridge reflex is activated, so receptors are located in the arteries, but these are not artery receptors, these are the vein bridge receptors. So these vein bridge receptors get activated whenever there is the increased blood volume. So this vein bridge, so what happens that those receptors send the vagal nerve towards the brain. It sends the vagal nerve towards the brain, and brain in turn sends the sympathetic nerve. So through this pathway, through this pathway, blood volume gets back towards the normal. What happens that again I am telling you that vein bridge receptors are located in the arteries. Whenever there is increased blood volume, these vein bridge receptors are activated, which sends the vagal nerve towards the brain. Brain then sends the sympathetic nerves towards the arteries, and then again that blood volume again comes back towards the normal.